This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Chet Chris, London, UK. Nicholas Nickleby, by Charles Dickens. Chapter 20, wherein Nicholas at length encounters his uncle, to whom he expresses his sentiments with much candour. His resolution. Little Miss La Creevy trotted briskly through divers streets at the west end of the town early on Monday morning, the day after the dinner, charged with the important commission of acquainting Madame Mantalini that Miss Nickleby was too unwell to attend that day, but hoped to be enabled to resume her duties on the morrow. And as Miss La Creevy walked along, revolving in her mind various genteel forms and elegant turns of expression, with a view to the selection of the very best in which to couch her communication, she cogitated a good deal upon the probable causes of her young friend's indisposition. "I don't know what to make of it," said Miss La Creevy. "Her eyes were decidedly red last night. She said she had a headache. Headaches don't occasion red eyes. She must have been crying." Arriving at this conclusion, which indeed she had established to her perfect satisfaction on the previous evening, Miss La Creevy went on to consider, as she had done nearly all night, what new cause of unhappiness her young friend could possibly have had. "I can't think of anything," said the little portrait painter. "Nothing at all, unless it was the behaviour of that old bear. Cross to her, I suppose? Unpleasant brute!" Relieved by this expression of opinion, albeit it was vented upon empty air, Miss La Creevy trotted on to Madame Mantalini's, and being informed that the governing power was not yet out of bed, requested an interview with the second in command, whereupon Miss Knag appeared. "So far as I am concerned," said Miss Knag, when the message had been delivered, with many ornaments of speech, "I could spare Miss Nickleby for evermore." "Oh, indeed, ma'am," rejoined Miss La Creevy, highly offended. "But you see, you are not mistress of the business, and therefore it's of no great consequence." "Very good, ma'am," said Miss Knag. "Have you any further commands for me?" "No, I have not, ma'am," rejoined Miss La Creevy. "Then good morning, ma'am," said Miss Knag. "Good morning to you, ma'am, and many obligations for your extreme politeness and good breeding," rejoined Miss La Creevy. Thus terminating the interview, during which both ladies had trembled very much and been marvellously polite, certain indications that they were within an inch of a very desperate quarrel, Miss La Creevy bounced out of the room and into the street. "I wonder who that is," said the queer little soul. "A nice person to know, I should think. I wish I had the painting of her. I'd do her justice." So, feeling quite satisfied that she had said a very cutting thing at Miss Knag's expense, Miss La Creevy had a hearty laugh, and went home to breakfast in great good humour. Here is one of the advantages of having lived alone so long. The little bustling, active, cheerful creature existed entirely within herself, talked to herself, made a confidante of herself, was as sarcastic as she could be on people who offended her, by herself, pleased herself, and did no harm. If she indulged in scandal, nobody's reputation suffered; and if she enjoyed a little bit of revenge, no living soul was one atom the worse. One of the many to whom, from straitened circumstances, a consequent inability to form the associations they would wish, and a disinclination to mix with the society they could obtain, London is as complete a solitude as the plains of Syria, the humble artist had pursued her lonely but contented way for many years, and, until the peculiar misfortunes of the Nickleby family attracted her attention, had made no friends, though brimful of the friendliest feelings to all mankind. There are many warm hearts in the same solitary guise as poor little Miss La Creevy's. However, that's neither here nor there just now. She went home to breakfast, and had scarcely caught the full flavour of her first sip of tea, when the servant announced a gentleman, whereat Miss La Creevy, at once imagining a new sitter transfixed by admiration at the street door case, was in unspeakable consternation at the presence of the tea things. "Here, take 'em away. Run with 'em into the bedroom, anywhere," said Miss La Creevy. "Dear, dear, to think that I should be late on this particular morning of all others, after being ready for 3 weeks by 8:30 o'clock, and not a soul coming near the place." "Don't let me put you out of the way," said a voice Miss La Creevy knew. "I told the servant not to mention my name, because I wished to surprise you." "Mr. Nicholas!" cried Miss La Creevy, starting in great astonishment. "You have not forgotten me, I see," replied Nicholas, extending his hand. "Why, I think I should even have known you if I had met you in the street," said Miss La Creevy with a smile. "Hannah, another cup and saucer. Now, I'll tell you what, young man, I'll trouble you not to repeat the impertinence you were guilty of on the morning you went away." "You would not be very angry, would you?" asked Nicholas. "Oh, wouldn't I?" said Miss La Creevy. "You had better try, that's all." Nicholas, with becoming gallantry, immediately took Miss La Creevy at her word, who uttered a faint scream and slapped his face, but it was not a very hard slap, and that's the truth. "I never saw such a rude creature!" exclaimed Miss La Creevy. "You told me to try," said Nicholas. "Well, but I was speaking ironically," rejoined Miss La Creevy. "Oh, that's another thing," said Nicholas. "You should have told me that too." "I dare say you didn't know, indeed," retorted Miss La Creevy. "But now I look at you again, you seem thinner than when I saw you last, and your face is haggard and pale. And how come you to have left Yorkshire?" She stopped here, for there was so much heart in her altered tone and manner that Nicholas was quite moved. "I need look somewhat changed," he said, after a short silence, "for I have undergone some suffering, both of mind and body, since I left London. I have been very poor too, and have even suffered from want." "Good Heaven, Mr. Nicholas!" exclaimed Miss La Creevy. "What are you telling me?" "Nothing which need distress you quite so much," answered Nicholas, with a more sprightly air. "Neither did I come here to bewail my lot, but on matter more to the purpose. I wish to meet my uncle face to face. I should tell you that first." "Then all I have to say about that is," interposed Miss La Creevy, "that I don't envy you your taste, and that sitting in the same room with his very boots would put me out of humour for a fortnight." "In the main," said Nicholas, "there may be no great difference of opinion between you and me, so far, but you will understand that I desire to confront him, to justify myself, and to cast his duplicity and malice in his throat." "That's quite another matter," rejoined Miss La Creevy. "Heaven forgive me, but I shouldn't cry my eyes quite out of my head if they choked him. Well?" "To this end I called upon him this morning," said Nicholas. "He only returned to town on Saturday, and I knew nothing of his arrival until late last night." "And did you see him?" asked Miss La Creevy. "No," replied Nicholas. "He had gone out." "Ah!" said Miss La Creevy. "On some kind, charitable business, I dare say." "I have reason to believe," pursued Nicholas, "from what has been told me by a friend of mine who is acquainted with his movements, that he intends seeing my mother and sister today, and giving them his version of the occurrences that have befallen me. I will meet him there." "That's right," said Miss La Creevy, rubbing her hands. "And yet, I don't know," she added. "There is much to be thought of. Others to be considered." "I have considered others," rejoined Nicholas, "but as honesty and honour are both at issue, nothing shall deter me." "You should know best," said Miss La Creevy. "In this case I hope so," answered Nicholas, "and all I want you to do for me is to prepare them for my coming. They think me a long way off, and if I went wholly unexpected I should frighten them. If you can spare time to tell them that you have seen me, and that I shall be with them in a quarter of an hour afterwards, you will do me a great service." "I wish I could do you, or any of you, a greater," said Miss La Creevy. "But the power to serve is as seldom joined with the will, as the will is with the power, I think." Talking on very fast and very much, Miss La Creevy finished her breakfast with great expedition, put away the tea caddy, and hid the key under the fender, resumed her bonnet, and, taking Nicholas's arm, sallied forth at once to the city. Nicholas left her near the door of his mother's house, and promised to return within a quarter of an hour. It so chanced that Ralph Nickleby, at length seeing fit for his own purposes